Hey, what's up team? Welcome back to the channel. On today's video, I've got a good one for you. Today we are looking at what has typically been my favorite shoe from Altra. It's the Torin. And this year we've got the Torin 8. Let's get into it. Now, before we get started, I do just want to say that Altra was good enough to send me this pair of the Torin 8 for the purpose of review. However, they haven't told me what to say. They don't have any editorial privileges, and all the thoughts and opinions are my own. With that said, you're going to be able to pick up your own pair of the Altra Torin 8 for $150. And of course, I'll place a link in the show notes below in case you want to pick up a pair for yourself. So if this is the first video that you've clicked on about an Altra shoe, let me give you a quick rundown. Altra is typically a zero-drop shoe, or balanced cushioning. That means we have the same stack height in the heel as we do in the forefoot. Now, Altra has recently introduced their forward line, and on those shoes only, Altra is using a 4mm drop. Altra is also famous for using their foot-shaped toe box, and you can see it gets quite wide here in the forefoot, but we're going to get more into that in just a second. So the Altra Torin 8 has a stack height of 30mm, and again, it's the same 30mm in the heel as it is in the forefoot, and that is going to create a more natural running experience. You know, when you're walking around barefoot, your heel is the same level as your forefoot. What's more, if this is the first time you're seeing a zero-drop shoe, it's very likely that you've been wearing shoes with a higher drop for your entire life, and by mixing in a lower drop or a zero drop shoe, you are going to be encouraging foot health and foot strength, because by running in a zero drop shoe, you're going to be using different muscles than you would if you're running in a shoe with a higher drop. Okay, now that that's out of the way, Altra claims that in a US men's size 9, the Torin 8 would tip the scale at 10.15 ounces or 288 grams. However, in my size, a US men's size 13, Torin 8 tips the scale at 11.7 ounces or 333 grams. Now, I do just want to point out that this is a very slight weight gain over the Torin 7 last year. So last year, the Torin 7 in a sample size came in at 278 grams, which is 10 grams less than the sample size in the Torin 8. And in my size, the Torin 7 came in at 313 grams, which is 20 grams less than my size in the Torin 8 this year. Now, I've got to say that slight difference is generally not going to be noticeable on your foot. I did run in both my Torin 7 and my Torin 8 in the testing of this shoe, and the weight difference wasn't noticeable in my short run in both shoes. But still, a new model with a greater weight is a little surprising. In fact, the Torin 7 last year reduced weight from the Torin 6, and now we have just gone right back up. Now, the Altra Torin 8 is a daily trainer. Again, it is a zero-drop or balanced cushioned daily trainer. Now, there aren't as many zero-drop daily trainers out there to compare against, so you're probably going to be looking at other daily trainers if you're thinking of picking up a pair of the Altra Torin 8. Now, if you are absolutely firm on a zero-drop shoe, I think the Torin 8 is the way to go. But perhaps if you're also looking at similar shoes but with a drop, you may be considering the New Balance 880 version 15. Now, this will cost you $140, so $10 less than the Torin 8. It has a 40.5, 34.5 stack for a 6mm drop, and in my size weighs in at 348 grams. So the 880 version 15 weighs 15 grams more than my size in the Torin 8. Next up, I think you might want to take a look at the On Cloudsurfer Next. Now, the On Cloudsurfer Next has a 30-24 stack height for a 6mm drop. It'll cost $150, so the same price as the Altra Torin 8, and in my size tips the scale at 320 grams, so it weighs 13 grams less than the Altra Torin 8. Okay. But let's get started on the top and work our way down, and I want to show you this heel collar. Again, the Torin 8 is a daily trainer, so we've got lots of padding right around this heel collar. It is definitely built for comfort. If we come back to the heel counter, now this is one of the changes that Altra has made. We have a molded heel counter, and it is fairly rigid, so I haven't experienced any heel slip, and that is definitely thanks to the rigid heel counter. We have a nice prominent elf here at the back of the heel collar right here if you want to grab this on and help pull the shoe on. And the tongue, as we would expect in a daily trainer, is fairly thick and very plushly padded. Now, the tongue is not gusseted, but we do have a lace loop right here on the front. I didn't experience any tongue migration on the Torin 8, but I gotta say, the tongue on the Torin 8, it's very traditional. It's very much like other daily trainers. And this is a change that I'm not too keen on over the Torin 7, because the Torin 7, while it did have a padded tongue, it just wasn't as padded as the Torin 8. Of course, I'm not on the Altra design team. I don't know why they did this. Maybe they had some complaints, but the tongue on the Torin 7 is just a little thinner, but still padded enough. Now, let's talk about this toe box for just a second and the shape, because the Torin 8 is using Altra's standard foot shape. Now, Altra typically uses 3 different foot shapes in their shoes. We have Original, and that has a slightly wider toe box than this Standard, and then we have the Slim. And while it is still a foot-shaped toe box, it's just slightly narrower, and you're going to see the Slim foot-shaped toe box in their race line. So think of a shoe like the Vanish Carbon 2, and if I hold this up, you might be able to see the difference that the Vanish Carbon 2 is just slightly narrower than the Torin 8. But remember, the Torin 8 is a daily trainer, so it's built for comfort. We don't need that race day slimness like we do in the Vanish Carbon 2. For the upper, Altra is using an engineered mesh. It seems fairly breathable. Of course, during my testing of this shoe, it hasn't been super warm, but just feeling it and looking at it, it seems like it's going to be extremely breathable. I haven't had any troubles with the uppers of Altra shoes in the past, and there's no reason for me to think that the upper of the Torin 8 is going to be any different. Now overall the Torin 8 does fit true to size. Now you can see when I hold it up that my two eyelet chains are fairly close together, which means that the upper may be a little more voluminous than is ideal for my foot, but of course this shoe isn't made custom for me. It's made to fit the most number of people. So if you have, I don't know, maybe just a little wider foot than me, I think you're going to have no issues with the Torin 8. And of course with this foot-shaped toe box, if you haven't run in a shoe with a foot-shaped toe box, I'm telling you, you're in for a treat. It is unsurprisingly very pleasant to not have your feet jammed into a shape that isn't natural. The laces on the Torin 8 are very smooth. They seem to work very well. I can tell you that they didn't come untied once during all my testing, and that's a good thing, right? We want laces to do one job, and we want them to do that one job well. No problems here. As far as overlays go, yeah, we got the typical underlay coming around the toe box just to keep that off your foot. We have the branding on the lateral, ALTRA spelled out on the medial side, some light overlays towards the back, and of course, coming along the eyelet chain, we have that reinforcement. And if you do experience heel slip, we do have the chance to do the heel lock lacing with this extra hole here on the back. So if that's something that you like to use, you can on the Torin 8. Coming down to the outsole, we can see that the outsole rubber is very traditionally ALTRA. We have the rubber on the outsoles that follow the metatarsals of your foot, and we got lots of flex grooves built in, which makes the Torin 8, yeah, fairly flexible. And although it doesn't look like it from your perspective, this is actually exposed midsole foam here in the center, so we're saving a little bit of weight. Now, as far as durability goes, I'm not seeing any wear up here on my forefoot, again on my heel. Actually, this is surprising. It's looking very good, and I'm not seeing really any wear, so it's standing up well to my testing. Now, here's the thing with a zero drop shoe, and running easy is the type of runs that I'm going to be doing in the ALTRA Torin 8. So because it is a zero drop shoe, it's going to encourage me landing more midfoot to forefoot, or probably more midfoot. And that is going to benefit you when you work in a zero drop shoe into your running shoe rotation. Again, we're just working on different muscles that we may not necessarily train if we're running in the same drop shoes all the time. Now, as far as ride goes, again, this is a daily trainer. I haven't done any speed work in the Torin 8, but that's not what it's made for. Of course, like any daily trainer, you can pick up the pace in the Torin 8, and Ultra's Ego Max midsole foam, in my experience, is fairly firm. So that is going to encourage the feeling of running faster and picking up the pace, at least for me. You know, when I'm running in like a super soft or plush shoe, to me it just feels like a cruiser. I just want to take it easy and let the shoe kind of take care of me, you know? That wasn't my experience in the ALTRA Torin 8. In fact, in my experience, and I know you are just watching this video for my experience, this is going to be different for everyone, but the durometer of the Ego Max foam in the Torin 8 is just a little firm for me to take for long distances. So in my testing, I kept this to my daily run distance, and that's usually between an hour and 10 minutes. That's probably somewhere between 7 and 7.5 miles. Those are the runs that I have taken the ALTRA Torin 8 on a regular basis in my testing time. Now, because of the slightly firmer feeling, at least to me, midsole foam, that is also the reason that I chose the On Cloud Surfer Next and the New Balance 880 version 15 as comparables, because those two shoes also ride just slightly firmer. And look, let me be clear, there is nothing against a firm shoe. There are a lot of people out there that just love a firmer ride, and actually I'm one of them. I'm always surprised when I take out a firmer shoe how much I actually enjoy it. Even though if I'm sitting around not running, I tend to think I enjoy a softer ride. But the main issue this year with the Torin 8, to me at least, is that it's building off something pretty great, right? Last year we had the Torin 7, and please ignore the colorway. I know that my Torin 7 just looks a lot better than this grey colorway in the Torin 8, but with a slightly lighter weight in the Torin 7 and that thinner tongue, and of course the Torin 7 being a year old, and you're probably going to be able to pick it up for a little less than the Torin 8. If I'm honest, I'm not sure if Ultra has made enough differences in the Torin 8 to make it worthwhile picking up over the Torin 7. In fact, for me, I would probably recommend saving that money and picking up the Torin 7, because this is a fantastic shoe. Now, as I said, I did run in both the Torin 7 and the Torin 8, one on each foot, and even though Ultra has made some tweaks to the Ego Max midsole foam, it wasn't immediately apparent to me the difference when I had a shoe on each foot. So now I want to hear from you. Have you run in any Ultra shoes? Have you run in any of the Torins over the years? Drop a comment and let me know. But for now, it's Matt B. This has been my review of the ALTRA Torin 8. Be kind, be happy, run well. I'll see you in a couple of days.